The multiverse is one of the biggest topics right now, especially in film. Alternate universes and different dimensions have always been a thing in storytelling, but just recently, modern movie making has been exploring the idea of the multiverse. Different universes where alternate versions of yourself exist, or universes similar to ours, but they do things differently. The entirety of the next few years of the MCU is even calling itself the Multiverse Saga. Since everyone's cashing in on the trend, why not do the same and rank these movies from worst to the best? I'll be starting at the bottom and making our way to the top, placing them in tiers. But what's the criteria? First, the movie must not just feature the multiverse, but the entire plot should be about it. Movies like Space Jam: A New Legacy and the Lego Batman movie were originally on this list, but they aren't exactly about the multiverse, they just feature elements of it. Another rule is that I'm not including time travel movies. While a movie that's on this list like The Flash includes it, the film is also occupied with changing the universe along with it, unlike Back to the Future, which is self-contained and doesn't include any elements of the multiverse. I'm also not including movies that have worlds within worlds like Alice in Wonderland or Space Jam 1 or Coraline, or nothing technology based like Ready Player One or Wreck-It Ralph or even The Matrix. I don't consider those multiversal. And I like a lot of these movies better than others, but how I'm ranking them today are based on how much I like them and how established the multiverse is and how I like the rules. So it isn't necessarily a ranking on the quality of these movies. That list will be different. And last but not least, like and subscribe, thank you. So anyways, why don't we start with The Cloverfield Paradox is not a movie I love. I talk about it in my trilogy video, which you can watch right here. The movie wasn't meant to be a Cloverfield movie, which hinders it from being something truly great. There's an attempt at an emotional storyline with Gugu and Beta Raw's character, but the mediocreness of everything else and the shoehorn connections ultimately bring it down. On the multiverse side of things, I don't hate it, especially with the context of the other Cloverfield movies, and trying to thread them all together with the spaceship was a pretty nice idea. Like, the multiverse brings in these horrible monsters, but the content of the movie as a whole just brings it down. Plus, it was announced and released the same night on the Super Bowl, which is just a waste of a good marketing strategy. Cool final shot though. The Flash is the newest movie in this list and was partially the inspiration behind making this video. It's actually solid for the first half. It's pretty fun all the way up until Zod gets introduced into the film, and then it turns into the typical superhero sludge we've been getting lately. Ezra Miller, despite everything, is very good. I like the atmosphere the film put us in, but the last half just made me slump into my seat, turn my brain off, and mindlessly tear away my popcorn for the rest of the runtime. And the last half is where most of the multiverse stuff takes place. Michael Keaton's Batman and Sasha Calle's Supergirl are introduced. One is a returning role that feels like a former shell of the original, and one is heavily underutilized. The scene where Bruce explains the multiverse is kind of stupid. Like, yes, changing the past will change the past, but before that present, sure. And when the multiverse actually collides, I'm sure you know by now, but the cameos might genuinely be the worst thing in a modern superhero movie of the last 15 years, Jesus. I think the multiverse brings this movie down, which makes this movie land so low. The Lego movie went triple platinum in 12-year-old me's head. I remember I bought a bootleg copy to school and everyone proceeded to make fun of me. Instead, we put on Captain America: The First Avenger, and this also happened to be before Captain America: The Winter Soldier released. So I put off watching The First Avenger for years because of this. Anyways, this movie is still to this day pretty good. After all, it's Lord and Miller. The story is non-stop and the jokes still hold up and the voice performances are top notch. Genuinely one of my favorite animated movies of the 2010s. Now look, the reason why it's so low on this list is because it's not really a multiverse movie. Well, at least it's not focused on it entirely. There's different worlds in it and they all clash, and the villain's plot is to make all of the worlds you want united one. But yeah, it's not entirely exploring the multiverse. And I know it's all some guy's basement and it's kind of no different from Ready Player One or Wreck-It Ralph, but I just needed to patch this stuff, okay? Happy Death Day to You is pretty cool. When I made this list, I put it under Lego Movie, but it's been a while since I watched it, so after I rewatched it, I had to put it up a notch. The movie's a sequel to Happy Death Day, which was a Groundhog Day-esque slasher movie, but this one's a lot more sci-fi, with main character Tree being transported to another universe. It's a solid follow-up, and the multiverse aspect is a little lacking like Lego Movies, since it's just one other alternate universe. I technically shouldn't count it, but I think the movie has a good message. Usually when things go wrong, we say, maybe in another life, maybe in another world, things will be better. And this movie explores that, showing what would be lost if we actually did go to that other universe. And how all the development we went through makes us who we are. I almost considered taking this and Lego Movie out of the ranking, but they're both solid movies, and in this ranking, I'm putting them in the B tier. So yeah, I like No Way Home. This is another movie I talked about in another video. You can click here to watch it. Anyways, the multiverse stuff in here never feels like it takes over from what's happening in the story. It's simply people coming from other universes, which is exactly what it should be for something like this. Everyone acts like themselves except for that weird Jimmy Fox performance. Then they all go away and the film wraps up its emotional arc. Also, the rules of the multiverse are clean and simple. People try and poke holes in it, but as far as multiversal rules go, it makes sense. Good. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse, hey, it's even in the title. I like this movie, definitely one of the stronger Phase 4 entries. I know some people don't like the pace of this movie, but I love how non-stop it is. The action is great and it looks pretty good. Sam Raimi is my guy, so I'm obliged to like it. People complain that this movie doesn't have enough multiverse in it, which is true and a bit underwhelming for the movie of its title, but what it has, it uses it well. Telling a story about what you could become if you took one wrong step, what could be in another universe, I like it a lot. Also, points for doing the easy multiverse cameo thing, only to kill them all off, basically saying fuck you to the whole thing. I gotta say, this movie's pretty solid. Everything Everywhere All at Once is at my 3. It's a pretty solid movie with an interesting take on the multiverse. Honestly, I don't love the movie as much as everyone else. I think all the performances are great, the action is solid, but I think the pacing can be very off at times, and sometimes the humor can just be pretty amateurish. But I overall think it's good. The multiverse concept is nice. I love that it's pretty basic with the whole this universe you're a great martial artist, or this universe you wear a funny hat. And the way they jump into the abilities of the other universes is pretty cool. And I love the stylistic changes to signify the different worlds. It's also just about potential and how our past affects our present. With the movie, I think is just pretty good and a very cool concept that ties to the themes of the film. Everything Everywhere tops our A tier. Not S tier. It stole too many awards and enfablements for that. Process of elimination, right? Across the Spider-Verse is great. I love the movie. I try to avoid spoilers because it's barely a month old, but I love how it's mostly just a movie catching up with Miles and showing us everything he's been through, while also carrying these huge stakes on his back. My only issue is that it's really half a movie, which of course is in a detriment to the film. I still like it, but I know I don't have the full picture quite yet, and that's okay. The multiverse aspect is just a bigger version of Into's, which I realize is a little backwards to talk about after the sequel, but it's just amazing how unique and vivid each individual universe and each individual spider feels from one another. Great movie. Well, it couldn't have been anything else. Into the Spider-Verse is awesome. This movie has an edge on the cross because of how complete its story is, just so tight and steady without ever feeling bored. Hell, even the simpler, less defiant animation compared to Across just feels charming nowadays. It was so groundbreaking at the time. And the multiverse aspect is amazing, bringing other spiders from other universes into the main one instead of vice versa, therefore giving us time to flesh out Miles' universe. And it's almost always taking a backseat to truly tell us his story of stepping into a new territory, no matter how scary it is. It's not a bad thing either, since the multiverse plotline tightly wraps around his art like a bow. And because of all of this, Into the Spider-Verse is the best multiverse movie. So that's every multiverse movie that I've seen. I always thought it was a neat concept as a kid, seeing all these type of what if scenarios, but as I get older, I definitely see how it's a bit oversaturated. But I think as humans, we kind of always think about what things could have been if we did just one thing different, and that's the type of stories I gravitate towards. But it can also be just as simple as a universe where everything is black and white, or everyone talks backwards, and hey, it's the hot trend right now, so I wonder what future takes on it will be. But I also can see how this can become a problem, with it just being used to put cameos in from things the audience recognizes and not actually doing anything with it or having a point for it. So I'm looking forward to seeing if this trend has legs or if it'll fizzle out fast enough. What's your favorite multiverse movie? Comment down below if you want to see more stuff like this, consider subscribing. I have a video ranking movie studio logos, so I'm kind of an expert in ranking random things. And hey, if this ranking didn't match yours, there's probably a universe where it does. Eu disse B, brandosa ideia.